The metallic blue Prius pulled into the driveway, gleaming under the afternoon sun. But as the driver's door swung open, Karen's face twisted with rage. "That's my spot," she shrieked, storming towards the car. Grabbing a handful of gaudy stickers, she slapped them across the pristine surface, cackling madly. Little did she know, a security camera was rolling, capturing every vindictive action. When the owner, Emma, returned, she gasped in horror. "No, my car," Emma cried, immediately calling the police. This was war. Emma stared in disbelief at her vandalized vehicle, heart pounding. Vivid pink and neon green stickers plastered the sides, obscuring the original color. "Oh my God, what is happening?" she muttered, running a hand through her short brown hair. Glancing around the quiet suburban street, Emma spotted an older woman standing on the sidewalk, a triumphant grin on her face. It was Karen, the neighborhood busybody who had been giving Emma dirty looks for weeks. "You took my parking spot, you selfish brat," Karen shouted, wobbling closer. "Now you know how it feels." Emma clenched her fists, fury rising like a tsunami. "This is vandalism. You can't just deface my property." "Watch me," Karen cackled, turning to shuffle back to her own house. Hands shaking, Emma pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "Hello. I'd like to report a case of vehicular vandalism," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "My neighbor just covered my car in stickers, and I have it all on security camera footage." After relaying the details, Emma hung up and paced anxiously, replaying the incident in her mind. Just a few hours ago, she had pulled into the driveway after a long day at work, grateful to be home. Now her beautiful car was ruined, all because of some passive-aggressive neighbor's temper tantrum. A few minutes later, the familiar sound of sirens pierced the air. 2 police officers emerged from the car, quickly approaching Emma. "Ma'am, we got a call about a case of vandalism. Can you show us the footage?" one of the officers asked. Emma nodded and ushered them inside, leading them to the security monitor. As they watched the video, the officers' expressions hardened. "This is clear-cut vandalism," the other officer declared. "We'll need to question your neighbor and get a statement from you as well." Relief flooded Emma's veins. "Thank you, officers. I just don't understand why she would do this. We've only lived here for a few months, and she's already caused so much trouble." The first officer frowned. "Unfortunately, we see cases like this all too often. Some people just can't handle change or don't like newcomers in the neighborhood." He paused, then added, "We'll make sure she faces the consequences for this." As the officers headed next door, Emma's shoulders slumped. She had hoped moving to this quiet suburb would bring some peace and tranquility after the chaos of city life. But it seemed Karen was intent on making her feel unwelcome. Emma gazed at her ruined car, anger slowly giving way to sorrow. "This is not how I wanted to start my new life here," she whispered, a lone tear sliding down her cheek. The 2 officers strode up to Karen's front door and knocked firmly. After a few moments, the older woman answered, her face twisted in an unpleasant scowl. "What do you want?" she demanded, eyeing the uniforms with disdain. "Ma'am, we're responding to a report of vandalism," the first officer said sternly. "We have video evidence showing you deliberately damaging your neighbor's vehicle. That's a criminal offense." Karen's eyes widened briefly, but then she let out a haughty laugh. "That little brat doesn't own the driveway. I was just teaching her a lesson." "That's not how the law sees it," the second officer interjected. "You had no right to deface her property. We're going to need you to come down to the station for questioning." "What? You can't arrest me," Karen sputtered, her face turning an unflattering shade of red. "I'm an upstanding citizen, not some common criminal." "Ma'am, you're either coming with us willingly, or we'll have to place you under arrest," the first officer said, his tone brooking no argument. "The choice is yours." Trembling with rage, Karen reluctantly stepped outside and allowed the officers to handcuff her. As they led her to the patrol car, she shot a venomous glare at Emma, who was watching from her doorway. "This isn't over, you brat," Karen shrieked. "I'll make you pay for this." Emma flinched at the venom in Karen's voice, her stomach twisting with dread. Had she just made a dangerous enemy? Once the police car had driven away, Emma retreated into her house, her mind racing. She couldn't believe this was happening. First the vandalism, and now her neighbor was being arrested. Part of her felt vindicated, but another part was deeply unsettled. Sinking onto the couch, Emma buried her face in her hands. "Why did I ever think moving here was a good idea?" she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. Just then, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. Glancing at the screen, she saw it was her best friend, Lila. I just saw the craziest thing on Nextdoor," Lila exclaimed. "Someone said the old witch next door got arrested for vandalizing your car. What's going on?" Emma let out a weary sigh. "It's a long story, Lil. That woman, Karen, has been nothing but trouble since we moved in. Today she just snapped and plastered my car with stickers. The police came and took her away." Lila whistled lowly. "Damn, I knew she was a piece of work, but this is next level. Are you okay?" "I don't know," Emma admitted, running a hand through her hair. "Part of me is relieved she's facing consequences, but I'm also worried. What if she comes after me again? Or tries to get back at me somehow?" "Hey, don't worry, okay?" Lila said firmly. "The cops have got her. And if she tries anything else, you've got me in your corner. I'll come over there and give her a piece of my mind if I have to." Emma managed a watery chuckle. "Thanks, Lil. I don't know what I'd do without you." "That's what best friends are for," Lila replied warmly. "Hang in there, Em. This will all blow over, you'll see." As Emma ended the call, she wished she could believe Lila's reassuring words. But something told her this was only the beginning of her troubles with Karen. The next morning, Emma awoke to the sound of banging on her front door. Heart pounding, she hesitantly peered through the peephole, only to let out a groan of frustration. There stood Karen, her beady eyes narrowed and her mouth twisted in a snarl. "Open up, you little brat," the older woman shrieked. "I know you're in there." Steeling herself, Emma unlocked the door and pulled it open a crack. "What do you want, Karen?" she asked wearily. "What do I want?" Karen screeched, her voice reaching a pitch that made Emma wince. "I want you to pay for what you've done to me, getting me arrested like some common criminal. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was?" Emma blinked in bewilderment. "I didn't get you arrested, Karen. You did that to yourself when you vandalized my car." "Lies," Karen spat. "That was my spot, and you had no right to park there. I was just teaching you a lesson." "By covering my car in stickers," Emma retorted. "That's not teaching a lesson, that's just criminal behavior." Karen's face contorted with rage. "You ungrateful little brat. I've lived on this street for 30 years, and I won't let some upstart like you ruin everything." Emma opened her mouth to reply, but before she could, Karen let out a shrill scream. "And to think, I was going to offer to help you clean up that mess," the older woman snarled. "But now? Forget it. You're on your own, you hear me?" With that, Karen whirled around and stomped back to her own house, muttering furiously under her breath. Emma stared after her, dumbfounded. "Help me clean up," she repeated in disbelief. As if I'd ever trust her to touch my car again. Shaking her head, Emma closed the door and leaned against it, feeling a headache forming behind her eyes. This was shaping up to be another long, stressful day. Just then, her phone buzzed with a text from Lila. "Lila. Heard Karen came over this morning. You okay, girl?" Emma. "Ooh, yeah. She showed up ranting and raving. Apparently, she thinks I'm the one who got her arrested, not her own vandalism." Lila. unbelievable. That woman has some serious issues. Emma, tell me about it. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Leela, well, I'm just a phone call away if you need me. And hey, at least the cops have her number now. Maybe she'll think twice before messing with you again. Emma sighed heavily. I sure hope so, she murmured, gazing out the window at Karen's house. The older woman was nowhere to be seen, but Emma had a feeling this was far from over. With a resigned groan, she headed outside to survey the damage to her car. As she ran her fingers over the tacky stickers, a wave of sadness washed over her. This was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to build a new life in a quiet suburban neighborhood. But thanks to one meddlesome neighbor, it was quickly turning into a nightmare. Emma clenched her jaw, determination sparking in her chest. Well, Karen, if you think I'm going to roll over and let you terrorize me, you've got another thing coming, she muttered. This means war. The next few days passed in a tense, uneasy silence. Emma avoided venturing outside, fearful of another confrontation with Karen. She spent her time carefully scraping the stickers off her car, wincing every time she saw the damage to the paint. As she worked, Emma's mind raced with worry. What if Karen tried to retaliate again? Would the police even take her seriously a second time? And what about the rest of the neighborhood? Would they side with the longtime resident or the newcomer? Emma sighed heavily, running a hand through her hair. This is such a mess, she muttered, staring forlornly at the blemished car. Just then, the sound of a car door slamming outside made her jump. Peering through the window, she caught a glimpse of a familiar figure striding up the driveway. It was Leela, a determined expression on her face. Emma hurried to the front door, pulling it open just as Leela reached the porch. Lil, what are you doing here? She asked, a note of panic in her voice. I'm here to help, of course, Leela replied, breezing past Emma and into the house. I can't stand the thought of you dealing with that crazy witch all by yourself. Emma closed the door, feeling a surge of relief. Oh, Lil, I'm so glad you're here. I've been so on edge, wondering what Karen might do next. Leela wrapped her friend in a tight hug. Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm not going anywhere until this whole mess is sorted out. Emma squeezed Leela gratefully, blinking back tears. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you. After a moment, they pulled apart, and Leela surveyed the living room with a critical eye. Okay, so what's the plan? She asked. What are we going to do about Karen? Emma shook her head helplessly. I don't know. I feel like I'm just treading water, trying to avoid her, while also figuring out how to get my car fixed. The police said they'd look into it, but I have no idea if anything will come of it. Leela's brow furrowed. Well, that's just not good enough. We need to take matters into our own hands. Emma's eyes widened. What do you mean? I'm not about to start vandalizing her property or anything like that. No, nothing like that, Leela assured her. But we need to send a clear message that her behavior is not acceptable. Maybe we could try to get the other neighbors on our side, rally the community against her. Emma hesitated, chewing on her lower lip. I don't know, Lil. I'm not really the confrontational type, and I don't want to stir up more trouble. Leela reached out and squeezed Emma's hand. Hey, I get it. But you can't just let her walk all over you either. That woman needs to be held accountable for what she's done. Emma sighed heavily. I suppose you're right. But what if the other neighbors side with her? What if this just makes everything worse? Then at least you'll know where you stand, Leela replied firmly. And you'll have me in your corner, no matter what. Emma gave her friend a grateful smile. Okay, let's do it. I'm tired of living in fear of that witch. Time to take the gloves off. Leela grinned, her eyes alight with determination. That's my girl. This is war, and we're going to win. Over the next few days, Emma and Leela sprang into action, determined to rally the neighborhood against Karen. They started by knocking on doors, introducing themselves, and sharing the details of the vandalism incident. To their relief, most of the neighbors were appalled by Karen's behavior and readily agreed to support Emma. Several even offered to chip in and help pay for the damages to her car. "That woman has been a menace for years," one elderly resident, Mrs. Thompson, confided. "I'm glad someone is finally standing up to her." Another neighbor, a young couple named Jason and Samantha, promised to attend a community meeting that Emma and Leela were organizing. "We want to make sure Karen knows her actions won't be tolerated," Samantha said firmly. "Enough is enough." Buoyed by the outpouring of support, Emma and Leela set to work planning the meeting. They made flyers, posted them around the neighborhood, and waited with bated breath for the big day. When the evening arrived, Emma felt a flutter of nerves as she watched the neighbors begin to trickle in. Leela gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "You've got this, Em," she murmured. "Just remember, we're all in this together." Emma nodded, taking a deep breath as the room fell silent. She stepped forward, clearing her throat. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I know we've all had our differences with Karen over the years, but what she did to my car crossed a line." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. "I'm here tonight to ask for your help," Emma continued. "I want to make sure Karen is held accountable for her actions, and that this kind of behavior doesn't continue to poison our community." One by one, the neighbors stood up and shared their own stories of Karen's troublemaking. Tales of petty feuds, vindictive gossip, and outright harassment filled the room, and Emma felt a growing sense of solidarity. Finally, Mrs. Thompson stood, her frail frame belying the steel in her voice. "We can't let that woman continue to bully us," she declared. "It's time we stood united and put an end to her reign of terror." The crowd erupted into enthusiastic applause, and Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. Maybe this wouldn't be as impossible as she'd feared. Just then, the front door burst open, and a familiar figure stormed in, her eyes blazing with fury. "What is the meaning of this?" Karen shrieked, her voice high and shrill. "How dare you all conspire against me in my own neighborhood?" The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the irate woman. Emma stepped forward, squaring her shoulders. "We're not conspiring against you, Karen," she said evenly. "We're simply standing up for ourselves and our community. Your behavior is unacceptable, and we won't tolerate it anymore." Karen's face twisted with rage. "Unacceptable. I'll show you unacceptable, you little." Before she could finish her sentence, Mrs. Thompson stepped in, her frail hand raised in a silencing gesture. "That's enough, Karen," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "If you continue to harass and intimidate your neighbors, we will have no choice but to take legal action. Do you understand?" Karen stared at the old woman, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Finally, she let out a frustrated huff and stormed back out of the house, slamming the door behind her. The room erupted into cheers, and Emma felt a surge of triumph. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance of putting an end to Karen's reign of terror. The next morning, Emma awoke feeling a sense of cautious optimism. The community meeting had been a resounding success, and she was hopeful that Karen would finally back off. As she sipped her coffee and scrolled through her phone, a notification from the neighborhood next-door app caught her eye. Curious, she tapped on it and felt her heart sink. It was a post from Karen, and it was seething with venom. "To all my dear neighbors," the post began, "I am appalled and disgusted by the blatant disrespect and betrayal I have experienced at the hands of a certain new resident on our street. This so-called community meeting was nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to undermine and vilify me." Emma's grip tightened on her mug as she continued reading. "Well, I won't stand for it," Karen's post went on. "I have lived on this street for over 30 years, and I have never seen such blatant disregard for the needs and concerns of long-standing residents. This newcomer has shown nothing but arrogance and entitlement, and I, for one, will not stand idly by while she tries to turn all of you against me." Emma felt a surge of anger rise within her. How dare Karen paint herself as the victim in all of this? The post went on to demand that the community return to the way things were and respect the established order. Emma scoffed at the thinly veiled threat. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message from Leela. "Leela, did you see Karen's post on Nextdoor? What a psycho." Emma: "Yeah, I just read it. Can you believe the nerve of her?" Leela: "Unbelievable. She's really trying to turn the whole neighborhood against you, isn't she?" Emma: "It seems that way. I'm not going to let her get away with this, though. I'm planning on responding to her post and setting the record straight." Leela: "Good for you, girl. Show her she can't mess with us." Emboldened by Leela's encouragement, Emma quickly drafted a response, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "Karen, it's clear that you're the one who is disrespecting the needs and concerns of our community. Your actions of vandalism and harassment have shown a blatant disregard for the well-being of your neighbors. The meeting last night was not an attempt to undermine you, but rather a chance for us to come together and address the very real issues you've been causing. We're not trying to turn anyone against you. We're simply standing up for ourselves and our right to feel safe and respected in our own homes. If you continue to terrorize and intimidate the people on this street, you will leave us no choice but to pursue further legal action. It's time for you to take responsibility for your actions and start treating your neighbors with the respect and decency they deserve." Emma read over the message one more time, her heart pounding. She knew this was a bold move, but she was tired of letting Karen's bullying go unchecked. With a deep breath, she hit post and watched as the message appeared on the Nextdoor feed. Leela immediately responded with a series of clapping emojis, and Emma felt a surge of pride. Now it was time to wait and see how Karen would respond. Whatever happened, Emma was determined to stand her ground. This was her neighborhood too, and she wasn't going to let anyone push her out. The next few days passed in a tense standoff, with Karen and Emma trading barbs on the Neighborhood Nextdoor app. The rest of the community, however, largely rallied behind Emma, much to Karen's obvious frustration. One evening, as Emma was finishing up dinner, her doorbell rang. Peering through the peephole, she felt her stomach drop. It was Karen, her beady eyes narrowed in a scowl. Steeling herself, Emma opened the door, putting on her best neutral expression. "Can I help you, Karen?" she asked, keeping her tone polite but firm. "You know damn well why I'm here," Karen spat, her voice dripping with venom. "This little crusade of yours has gone on long enough. It's time you learned your place in this neighborhood." Emma raised a brow, refusing to be cowed by the older woman's aggression. "I'm not sure what you mean. I'm simply standing up for myself and my right to live here peacefully." Karen's face contorted with rage. "Peacefully? Don't make me laugh. You've done nothing but cause trouble since you moved in, and I'm not going to stand for it anymore." Emma crossed her arms over her chest, regarding Karen coolly. "If you have a problem with me, Karen, I suggest you take it up with the rest of the community. They seem to disagree with your assessment." "The community?" Karen scoffed. "Those fools are just too blind to see what you really are. An entitled brat who thinks she can waltz in and take over our street." Emma felt a flicker of anger, but she forced herself to remain calm. "I'm not trying to take over anything, Karen. I just want to live here in peace, without having to worry about my property being vandalized or my neighbors harassing me." "Peace," Karen sneered. "There's no peace to be had as long as you're here, you little—" Before she could finish her sentence, the sound of a car pulling into the driveway made them both turn. Emma's heart leaped as she recognized Leela's bright red Mustang. "What's going on here?" Leela demanded, striding up to the porch, her eyes narrowed. Karen whirled around, her face an unflattering shade of puce. "This is none of your business, girl. This is between me and the brat who's ruining our neighborhood. Leela stepped closer, her posture radiating defiance. Last I checked, Emma is my best friend. That makes it my business. Karen let out a derisive laugh. Oh, so now you've got your little sidekick to fight your battles for you, huh? How pathetic. Pathetic. Leela fired back. The only thing pathetic here is your blatant disregard for the well-being of our community. You need to back off, Karen, before this escalates any further. For a moment, Karen seemed taken aback by Leela's confrontational tone. But then her expression hardened, and she let out a low, menacing chuckle. This isn't over, she growled, her gaze shifting between Emma and Leela. Mark my words, you two are going to regret the day you ever set foot on this street. With that, she turned and stormed back to her own house, slamming the door behind her. Emma let out a shaky breath, her heart pounding. Thanks for coming, Lil, she murmured. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't shown up. Leela wrapped a comforting arm around her friend's shoulders. Hey, you know I've got your back, no matter what. And don't worry about Karen. She's all bark and no bite. Emma nodded, but a seed of doubt still lingered in the back of her mind. Something told her this wasn't the last they'd seen of their vindictive neighbor. Over the next few weeks, an uneasy truce settled over the neighborhood. Karen seemed to have retreated, at least publicly, while Emma and her supporters continued to rally the community against her. One evening, as Emma was preparing dinner, her phone buzzed with a call from the police station. Her heart sank as she listened to the officer on the other end of the line. Ma'am, I'm afraid we have some troubling news, the officer began. It appears your neighbor, Karen, has filed a complaint against you for harassment and defamation. Emma felt the blood drain from her face. What? But she's the one who vandalized my car. How can she possibly accuse me of harassment? The officer sighed heavily. I understand your frustration, but the fact is, she's claiming you and your friend have been engaging in a campaign of intimidation against her. She's demanding that you both be charged with crimes. Emma's mind raced, trying to process this new development. But that's not true at all. We were just standing up for ourselves against her bullying behavior. I know, ma'am, and we'll be sure to investigate thoroughly, the officer assured her. In the meantime, I'd advise you and your friend to avoid any further confrontation with Karen. We don't want this to escalate any further. Emma nodded numbly, her heart sinking. Okay, thank you, officer. I'll let Leela know. As she ended the call, Emma felt a wave of despair wash over her. After all the progress they'd made, after standing up to Karen and rallying the community, it seemed the tables had turned once again. Leela arrived a short time later, her brow furrowed with concern. Em, what's wrong? You sounded really upset on the phone. Emma quickly relayed the news, watching as Leela's expression morphed from shock to fury. That witch, Leela exclaimed. How dare she try to turn this around on us? Emma shook her head helplessly. I don't know, Lil. The officer said we need to avoid any further confrontation with her, or it could make things worse. Leela scoffed. Screw that. We can't just let her get away with this. We have to fight back, show the cops and the rest of the neighborhood that she's the one in the wrong. But what if it doesn't work? Emma murmured, her voice tinged with defeat. What if they believe her instead of us? Leela reached out and squeezed Emma's hand. Hey, don't you dare give up, okay? We've come too far to let that witch win. Emma managed a weak smile. I know. I'm so tired of fighting, Lil. I thought we were finally making progress, and now it feels like we're back to square one. I get it, Em, Leela said gently, but we can't stop now. Not when we're this close to putting an end to Karen's reign of terror. Emma nodded, feeling a renewed sense of determination. You're right. We've come too far to back down now. Let's show that old witch she's picked the wrong people to mess with. The two friends shared a determined look, knowing that the battle was far from over. But this time, they were prepared to do whatever it took to ensure that justice prevailed. As they set to work planning their next move, Emma couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could finally put an end to this long-running feud and reclaim the peace and tranquility they so desperately craved.